Well, we're live today on YouTube. And if you've checked out the title of the live, you'll see it's a question and answers session. I've got some questions written down from people that have submitted it to me during the week in preparation from this, from my students to some of the clients that I work with. They've submitted via email, and even on my Instagram account, they've submitted questions to me. But because this is a live stream, I want you to engage as well. So in the chat, if you have some questions, I want you to submit the questions that you've got. I'm going to answer and add some of those in real time to the conversation that we're having. But before we get into it, I want to welcome you from wherever you are joining from. Are you joining from here in Australia? Are you joining from North America? Or perhaps the United Kingdom, where it's morning time? You're perhaps scrolling through in the morning as you're about to embark on a new day. Or maybe you're on the tube in London listening to this as you're commuting to work. Let me know where you are joining me from. And welcome to Aaron, who is in the live today. And we have Sarah. It's great to see some of you come back over and over again. It means you're finding value in the content. I like to facilitate as much as I can content that is useful to you, content that is educational to you, so that you can learn, grow, and expand. That is the purpose of this channel, is for us to be able to learn, to be able to grow, and more importantly, to be able to ask questions. That's why I'm committed weekly to doing a question and answers forum. So we got lots of hellos and people loving Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon was my teacher. I trained with Dolores Cannon. I'm one of her students. I continue what I like to call her legacy. I didn't want her work to die with her when she left this physical. I wanted the teachings to go on. So like many other people around the world, I'm committed to carrying on that legacy. I'm committed to doing these weekly live stream events to answer the questions that you have. They might be pertaining to the teachings of Dolores Cannon. You might have been reading some of her books and you've got specific questions that are coming up for you that you don't quite understand. I studied under Dolores Cannon for years, so I have a lot of those answers. And that's why I love giving back and helping people make the connection. So welcome to all those people. We've got someone from beautiful Texas. I visited Texas once, Houston, Texas, right down the bottom there. Great part of Texas. What part are you joining me from? And we have Paula, and we've got Kimberly, who is joining from Springfield, Missouri. Salvador, hello to you. Dolores Cannon has started me on a wonderful journey by reading her books from Jody. I was falling asleep last night and I was listening to the audiobook of Between Death and Life. Do you find like that every time you listen to something again, you get more information, stuff you didn't hear before? I found that last night and I was re-listening to Between Death and Life. This jumped out at me, is that the soul never sleeps. And yeah, I've heard that before. But to really understand that, the soul would get bored if it had to wait around for you to wake up. It would get bored if it had to just sit there waiting for you to come out of the dream state. So of course it's off traveling, having adventures. Some of you that I've worked in regression work with have told me that you do healing work when you sleep. You do energy work when you sleep. You go back to the other side. You get healing. You bring forward more information. It's quite fascinating when we get into some of this more advanced stuff. And hello, Eva, who's joined from Sweden. We've worked together before in a session, so it's great to see you joining. And where else have we got people from? Jody, where are you joining from? And hello to Aaron as well. I'm looking down because I'm reading the comments. So forgive me if I'm looking down. I'm just trying to connect with you. The camera's up here and my screen is down below me, near my hands. I just need to look down every now and again to be able to read what you're communicating with me. I got a list of some great questions that have been asked to me over this last week from clients that have submitted those questions to me via email and people that have DM'd me on Instagram. I've got about 10 of those questions that I want to answer during this live stream. But I also want to answer some of the questions that you have that are joining live. So at any point from now, in the comment section, in the chat section, please type away any questions that you might have. And I want to answer some of those questions. But let me get firstly to my list. First question is from Jane, and she says, how do I manifest my desires? I'm always getting the stuff I don't want. Why can't I manifest? This is a common misconception that some of us know how to manifest and some of us do not. It's a complete falsity. It's a complete misconception. We are all manifesting. Every single one of us. The skeptics that say, I don't believe in manifestation, life is random, you're either lucky or unlucky, those individuals are manifesting regardless if they believe in the manifestation process or not. We don't get what we want in life. I think that's pretty obvious, don't you? If we got what we want in life, wouldn't you think that the vast majority of human beings would be creating all of the things that they desire? And yet, when we observe the world, we see the vast majority of individuals discontent, unhappy, diseased. Why? Why is that? Why are the vast majority of individuals, if we create our reality, if we manifest, why they would do that? Every single one of us is creating our reality. The vast majority of people are creating it unconsciously. The vast majority of people are creating their life unconsciously. For the remainder of people, they're trying to create. They might have read the law of attraction, they might have read The Secret, and they're trying to manifest the reality that they want. But here's the thing. You don't get what you want. Haven't you been around yet to know we don't get what we want? What do we get? We get what we are. And life is simply a projection of our state of consciousness. Good, bad, and indifferent. If you don't like what you've been getting, to quote Dolores Cannon, you can change it any time that you want. That's how powerful you are. Someone said to me recently, I want a relationship. I want to manifest a relationship. Now, the universe does not understand time. It doesn't communicate in time like we do. It's a linear construct of the human mind. We perceive time, we perceive past, the present, and the future. It's a construct of the mind. In Between Death and Life, in Dolores Cannon's book, it talks about the eternal, where time does not exist. Beyond the physical, does not exist. The universe does not communicate or respond with time. If you're putting out to the universe, I want abundance, I want a relationship, the universe is going to respond back to you with want. It's going to match your vibration. It's matching what you are, not what you want. So with a slight pivot, with a slight redirection, and bringing the desired thing within to the present moment and saying, I am. Now, you're not going to feel like it. I am abundant, and you look at your bills and you go, right, oh, $400 on that, and I've got to feed my family this week, and there's not enough in the bank account. The last thing I'm going to say is I am abundant. And yet, all the universe can do is match back to you your state of vibration. Something I'm observing with, and I work with a lot of one-on-one clients, so I get a very good bird's eye view of what a lot of people are going through. Different people in different parts of the world. The number one thing I see with people is they say this affirmation all the time. I can't afford it, Paul. I can't afford it. I can't do a healing session. I can't work on myself. I can't practice that meditation practice because I can't afford it. Or the second thing is I don't have time. Really interesting to pay attention to the words that we speak, because the words that we speak become the life we live. It's as simple as that. You've never been a victim to life. Life is just trying to serve you. If you're not putting out a clear signal, if you're not putting out a clear set of instructions or communications, how is it going to deliver according to what it thinks you might want? Everything in reality is responding to you. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that amazing? That we suddenly have an opportunity to take action. We have an opportunity to take action. A lot of people don't like being in control. A lot of people like being a victim. I've come to learn that. Because it's a lot easier. Hello, Tammy, by the way, who has joined us, and Jody. Someone has said, you reap what you sow. Great piece of wisdom from the New Testament. Absolutely. Or the law of karma is another way of putting that. Manifestation, we get what we are. We get what we are, not what we want. All of the people that say manifestation doesn't work, I tried it, are probably the ones that haven't really understood that principle. They haven't really understood it. All right, have we got any other questions? Because I've got my list, but I want to get to someone who is joining live. Who has a question? Do you believe in God? Absolutely. Instead of using the word God, though, those that have heard me communicate before, I have adopted a better term that I like to use. Now, not everyone's going to like it. In fact, I got recently some criticism around my wording of God because it triggered somebody. I like to use the word divine rather than God. Now, for me, that works better. I was raised a conservative Christian, and there was a lot of negative connotation that came with the word God. We tend to personify it, and I don't like that. Because my understanding of God or the divine isn't a personification. It's not a physical. It's not a gender. It does not have anatomy like we do in the physical. Divine opens up my awareness to the limitless, to that can't be understood analytically. It's a much more expansive term. So yes, I do believe in the concept of God. I just don't call it that. Okay, Tony, it's okay to have an... no, not really. We have... I don't even want to go there with what Tony has said. When it comes to anything that we have collectively agreed upon as a society, this is the great thing that I love. We have a legal system. And the legal system, wherever you live in the world, will slightly differ. Perhaps you're in Saudi Arabia, as some people join, or you're in North America or Canada or here in Australia. We tend to, in the West, have a very similar legal system. Most of the time, with exceptions obviously, that legal system endeavours to protect us against certain behaviours that are harmful to other individuals. So that's a good template to follow, but I'm not going to get into that specific question because it's not even relevant to this discussion. Hello from Denver, Colorado. Stacey, I visited Denver, Colorado about 10 years ago, and I loved it. I went up there into the mountains. I saw where Buffalo Bill Cody was buried. You've probably been up there, and I got to get a great perspective from the mountains. Beautiful part of North America. I'd love to visit Denver again. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for reminding me of that. And hello, Tammy, if I didn't say hello to you. Now, I've got another question here in my list of emails, and I want to make sure I get to as many of these as possible. How can I heal from past traumas? Now, it doesn't matter what specific trauma it is that you're facing. The most natural thing that we tend to want to do when it comes to anything that is awkward and uncomfortable is we want to run in the opposite direction. We don't want to face it. We go into denialism. In order to overcome something, you must face it. I had a great fear of public speaking. I was terrified, even from a young child, of putting myself out publicly. My greatest fear was that if I put myself out there, if I put myself out publicly, if I did a live stream like this, I would get criticized, right? That was my greatest fear. If I was to analyze that and say, that is why I'm not communicating, is because this is live, someone could write something nasty in the chat, and I'm reading the chat, by the way, so I can see some nasty comments. That's the worst thing that could happen. Or I could slip on my words, I could say the wrong thing, I could get misinterpreted, my hair might not look good, I might get called names. Now, if that's the worst thing that can happen, and don't worry, by the way, I've got a thick skin, I developed that a long time ago, then why would I let a fear of what others may think, or their perspective, or their opinion, or their criticism stop me from doing what I'm meant to do? What is it in your life that's held you back from reaching your potential? Is it the fears? Is it the opinions? Is it the ideas of what other people think about you? My biggest regret in life came about at the age of 30 when I realized that I had allowed others' opinions of me to rob me of years of untapped potential. Now, when I got this lesson, and I got it through the teachings of Dolores Cannon, I took immediate action. I took action so quickly, boy, did I scare individuals in my life when they saw me transform and change at a rapid rate. Because I no longer was going to allow people that had hurt me in the past, or people that hurt me or try to hurt me in the present, from stopping me from creating the life I want. Let me use this as an example because it's happening in real time. Someone puts a negative comment in the chat. So, who cares? Someone hurt you in the past. Sure, you didn't like it, didn't feel good, they were mean, it wasn't fair. Haven't you been around long enough to know that life isn't fair? The world has people that are mean, people that like to criticize and project their hatred onto others. And yet it's most of the time these things cause great inaction in our own lives. We either get jaded, or this is a common one for empathic people. They hide away most of the time with their beloved animals, and they lock themselves away and they stay away from people because people are now the enemy to them. I did that for a while as well. What is the worst thing that can happen to you? What is the worst thing that can happen to me during this live stream? That someone's going to criticize or not resonate or put the thumbs down. That's the thing you can't do on Instagram, you can on YouTube, is put the thumbs down They don't have that option on Instagram. But if that is the worst thing that can happen, that I get a negative comment or a thumbs down, you think that's going to stop Tammy, who's receiving this message, and Aaron, who's receiving this message, and Jody and Eva, who come back time and time again to get value from the wisdom that Dolores Cannon imparted to me and everything I've learned along the way? Why would I let a few insignificant individuals stop that? I had people that hurt me in my childhood, that wronged me, that did the wrong thing by me. I would only be giving them more energy and more superiority and more power by allowing them to stop me. See, it can be a great motivator. When you take your power back, so you've been feeding that perhaps unforgiveness. It was a big bummer for me when I realized that all that unforgiveness I held on to was never affecting anybody that I intended it to be. It was just inhibiting and stopping me from reaching my potential. Boy, was I quick to relinquish that and step into where I was meant to be all along. When you come into this physical reality, your soul has a purpose. It's called the universal question. What is my specific contribution? What am I specifically meant to do in this life? Now, of course, it can be a range of things or a range of lessons. But what are you meant to be contributing? Are you a healer? Are you meant to share a message? What's holding you back? Let me know in the conversation here, in the comments. Let me know in the comments, even if you're watching the replay. Tammy and Eddie and Stacy and Aaron, let me know and Tony, let me know. What have you allowed to hold you back? Is it the opinions of others? Is it others' negativity? Someone said, Letty has said, love the pet. So do I. I've got a beautiful dachshund laying next to me in the background. By no means do I say that our pets aren't wonderful, but let us not let them hog us and deprive the world of the energy that we have to bring. Because what do you think is going to happen if you don't reach your potential in this life? If you don't get a lesson, guess what happens? Who can let me know in the chat? Who's got the answer to that, even if you're watching the replay? What happens if you don't get a lesson? You're going to repeat it. Either in this life, with different people, or you're going to come back again and do it all over again. Sometimes with the same people. How do I know this? I started by understanding it when I read it in Dolores Cannon's books, but after she trained me as one of her students, I came to do my own sessions where I was discovering the same information coming through from the set clients that I was working with. See? This information was being validated through many different sources. Now, a lot of people will say, how do you know? And you can't prove it. The work of Dr. Raymond Moody around near-death experiences has given a lot of credibility in my eyes, and even in the scientific community, because he's been around for a long time and he's done a lot of research into the phenomena of near-death experiences. Most of the skeptics will be unfamiliar with that research and the amount of research that has gone into investigating the thousands of people that he's worked with over the years. I encourage you, if you don't believe in life after death, look at the work of Dr. Raymond Moody on NDEs and near-death experiences. Actually, Dolores Cannon cites his work in her book, Between Death and Life. Let me not get sidetracked because I want to answer more questions. How do I develop my intuition, Paul? I feel disconnected. I don't get messages. Ooh, who relates to this? Give me a thumbs up if that is something that you've tried to develop for yourself. Intuition is like a muscle. Now, I go to the gym. Sometimes I get comments about it when I do these videos, but I go to the gym. And when I go to the gym, not only do I get a bit of an endorphic release post my training session, so I feel better, but the other thing I get a development of my muscular system. And I do a split workout over a number of days, so I'm working out specific body parts. Obviously, it's not happening in 1 or 2 sessions. It's something I've committed to over 20 years of being consistently consistent to show up for myself and to develop my physical muscular system. That process has produced for me a certain physique. It's the same with your intuition. When you develop your intuition or your intuitive muscles, to use a metaphor, you become more developed intuitively. You begin to recognize, you begin to perceive into aspects of reality that you don't perceive. Let me use an analogy. If you're tuned to a particular frequency or radio station and you never flick the dial, you will never get a different signal. You will only get the station that is being broadcast on what you're attuned to. The moment you begin to play with that dial, you're going to start to get a different frequency, a different signal. Now that is how I define accessing intuition, is changing, shifting the dial. Now you need to take action in order for that to occur. The default is the default. It's like the factory settings of the appliance. If you don't start to play with the settings, you're going to be on the factory default. Lots of analogies today. I think analogies help. Let me know in the chat, do analogies help you understand what I'm sharing more? I think when it comes to spirituality, because we're at all different levels of consciousness, if we use analogies, if we use metaphor, I think it helps us better understand. But let me know. Someone says they're playing with their dial. It's important, and Tammy is agreeing with that, and so is Patricia. Welcome, Patricia, by the way. Good to see you. It's accessing a part that we all have the opportunity to. Now, a lot of people will look at my physical body and say, well, he's not overweight and he looks like he takes care of himself and goes to the gym, and maybe he was born that way. Maybe he just had it. And obviously, for me, I can tell you, no, that is not the case for me. I go to the gym 5 days a week to keep in the shape I do. Why do I do it for vanity purposes? Do I do it to lose weight? I do it for a range of different reasons. one of the main benefits that I get from doing it is I get a place of meditation where I really are able to get away from my working environment, and I'm able to shift the energy from my analytical mind when I'm working or when I'm doing menial tasks to coming more into the body. And when I'm in the body more, I'm noticing that I'm accessing different perceptions. I get more intuitive messages. Or perhaps, let me put it this way, perhaps I'm not getting more intuitive messages. I'm more aware of the intuitive messages because I'm less identified with my analytical mind. Everyone's intuition is always communicating with you. Most of the time, people have not created the internal environment that is conducive to hear, so they don't hear it. They only hear the analytical mind. That's why practices like meditation are so powerful, because it allows us to create introspection so that we can hear our intuition. So that's an important one, intuition. Who has got to a stage where they've really developed with their intuition? Who's really developed their intuition? It might be through a meditation practice that has lasted years, or a yoga practice that has lasted years. Who has developed that intuitive muscle for themselves? Who has done that? Geordie has done that. And Soren, is that a yes or a love heart? I think I saw 4 love hearts, but is that a yes? So when I see the synchronicities, what should I do? When we see increased synchronicities, from my observation, it is often a sign that we're moving in the right direction. The more synchronicities you see, the more confirmation you're getting from the universe that you're heading in the right direction. Now pay attention to what the synchronicities are. Are you getting number sequences? 111, 11, 11, 222. And when you see them, what are you thinking about? Where are you? Do some investigation and try to interpret what it's communicating with you. See, our guides and our ancestors and our angels are always communicating with us. They're always trying to get our attention. They're trying to always bring us comfort. But most of the time, we don't invite them in. And they cannot, one thing they can't do is they cannot interfere on, or with rather, your free will. And so, they try to communicate, but they won't interfere. I have a daily practice where I consciously ask them, please, today, help me be synchronizing with the work that I do. Help me to create intentionally. Help me to illuminate my light and inspire others when I communicate with them. Speak through my words and my actions to help me say the right things at the right time to the right people. And then I let go. I let go and trust the process, because there's only the part I play and the rest I put into their hands and I let them do it. Who does that? Who says consciously every day statements like, I welcome you into my experience. I welcome you in to use and to communicate with me. It might be in the form of prayer. Those of us that have been raised Christian will probably, or even some other faith, will have a practice of prayer. It's a beautiful thing. I grew up doing that, and so that is something that I've cultivated over the years. Now, my understanding has evolved, but my practice remains. Now, I'm going to get to another question. If you've joined the live and you've got a question, you might have jumped in since I asked this before. If you've got a question and you're watching live, or even if you're watching the replay, I'll go back in and read some of those. Let me know what your question is, and I'd love to answer it. But I'll go back to my email questions here. How do I practice mindfulness in my daily life? I have an overly active mind and I can't stop the thoughts. How do I practice mindfulness in my daily life? There's probably not one of us that has some kind of a spiritual life. We're reading spiritual books or subscribe to channels like this. And if you don't subscribe to this channel and you're resonating with this, please hit the subscribe button. But we're getting knowledge all the time. We're acquiring knowledge. I call it knowledge acquisition. In the times we live out in now, we're all experts at knowledge acquisition. We all have access to all the knowledge that really is available publicly anyway through our smart devices. There's no issue with that. The issue is, for the vast majority, they don't apply what they know. So when it comes to meditation, we all know, meditation has so many health benefits. It's going to help you sleep. It's going to help you feel more at peace. It's going to give you energy. It's going to be good for your heart. And you'll probably even know some of the statistics from the university studies that have gone on over the last 20 years when it comes to meditation. So we are aware. I don't need to tell you that it's good to meditate. There's a difference between knowledge acquisition and knowledge application. The vast majority of people, no matter if it's to do with meditation or to do with any other thing that is good for us, we don't implement, we don't practice, we don't apply. Why do you think that is? I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on that. Why do you think that for the vast majority of people that have the knowledge don't apply what they know? When it comes to daily introspection and daily meditation, my first piece of advice is start small. Start with a manageable plan rather. So for meditation, I would say take 5 minutes a day, just 5, in the morning preferably, while you're still in the theta brainwave. Just as you're coming out of sleep, you're more susceptible to get more from your higher awareness, your higher self, during that state of theta. You're in that theta state as well, just as you're falling off to sleep at night. That is another great time to meditate, to get intuitive messages, to get this type of information. Morning and night, start with 5 minutes a day. The more you show up for yourself, the more practice you have, the better you will become. You're building something new. Be easy on yourself in the beginning. Don't overcomplicate the process. You want to shift from just having information to applying. Who knows information in their life but hasn't been applying? Let me know in the chat as well. And I'm reading some of the comments. 444 Jody has said, and just making time. Well, we all have, Tammy, the same amount of time in a day. It's 24 hours. How are we using it? What do we do? Here's a question. What is the first thing you do when the alarm goes off or you wake up in the morning? What is the first thing you do? Besides rushing off to the bathroom. That's probably going to be the first thing most people do. Or let their dog or their cat out to use the bathroom, as I do as well. But then, what is the next thing that we do? Do we reach for our phone? Tammy says, drink coffee. And there's nothing wrong with drinking coffee, by the way. It's interesting to know. Winston has says he cries in the morning. What makes you cry? Why is that? We love your... Thank you. Thank you for some of the kind comments as well in the chat there. What I used to do before I started my practice of meditation, I would reach, and this was a while ago before smart devices, I would reach for something to read. And that is okay, as long as, pay attention to what you're reading. But now I go straight into meditation. I might put on some music if that is something that I'm feeling guided to do, or I might just go into silence. And I create this internal environment to hear. I ask, what do I need to know for today? What do I need to be aware of? I have, and you have, a limited amount of energy for each day before you replenish at night. How do you use the energy that you have each day? Do you use your energy, here's an important question, do you use it to heal others or harm others? There's so many people in this world that use their voice, they use their energy to hate on other people. We all have these people in our lives. Their energy is used to try to tear somebody else down, to make someone else feel bad. Not everybody is strong enough to not be affected by that. And I've lost some really good people over the years to suicide because some of the hateful and harmful things that others have done toward them. And it breaks my heart even to share that. Not everybody is strong enough. What are you doing with your time and your energy? Are you using it to criticize not just others but yourself? Or are you using it wisely? Are you investing it to better your life, to not just acquire knowledge but apply what you're learning and be perfecting yourself? I do this every day when it comes to the work that I do. With communication, I work on my communication. I work on better ways of communicating. So I'm always working on the things that I want to get better at. And the more you do something, the better you get at it. When I first started sharing online, I used to be bothered by the negativity. I actually welcome the negativity because what I realized is when people put a negative comment, it actually helps more people see because you're engaging with the algorithm. I used to want to see that as happening to me. And now I see it as happening for me because those people help my message go out and reach more people. And I think that's wonderful. I'm just looking at my clock. I don't want to be here for longer than I say I'm going to be here. I try to keep this under 1 hour, and I'm just about at that point. Plus, I think my dog needs to go to the bathroom because I can hear him scratching. So I'm going to leave it there. If you would like to book a one-on-one session with me, I'm working with people almost every day. You can do so by visiting my bio here on YouTube. Or if you want to follow some of my content that I'm sharing, you can find me on Instagram, Paul Williams Official as well. Daily I'm sharing inspiring quotes, videos, reels, stuff that I think will be helpful to you. And most days I'm doing an hour live stream here on YouTube. So lots of ways for us to connect. But I look forward to seeing you next time we connect together. See you next time.